r/AskReddit by Redmond Dts. Night shift workers. What's the creepiest thing that's happened? I was working in a 35-story high-rise. I was returning some computer tapes like I did nightly. I was exhausted and I could barely stay awake. As I approached the elevator, I noticed the door was open. I was happy that I didn't need to wait and started walking faster until I realized there was no elevator car present and it was a 10-story drop. This happened in one of the hospitals here in my area. The doctor fell straight from the 7th floor to the bottom of the elevator shaft. It turns out that someone was fixing the elevator but for some reason they forgot to place warning signs. Good thing though, the doctor survived. Used to clean a church alone late at night. There was a piano upstairs, which I thought was broken, which was why it was upstairs in the attic. One night I started hearing piano music from the attic. I immediately assumed someone was up there pranking me, so I went up and there was no one. When I turned around to walk away after realizing no one was there, I heard a loud bang behind this metal door which I assume was an attic closet. Never worked the night shift again. Asked the one other person that worked night shifts. She confirmed weird stuff happening was normal. I was working at a middle school as a night shift custodian. I cleaned a long U-shaped wing full of classrooms every weeknight. I'd already locked up one set of doors to the wing and was about to lock the ones at the other end of the U. I made the full lap around the wing, and I'd been cleaning there all night alone, and came to the end of the hallway where the doors to the rest of the school were. When I shut the lights off, the dark silhouette of what looked like a child ran from across the end of the hallway from left to right. There were doors down there, but I'd just locked them all up and no one was around. I was so creeped out, I locked the doors connecting the wing to the rest of the school and ran to my car. I always felt like I was seeing things out of the corner of my eye working there at night, but that was the most visible, for sure thing I saw at that place. Oh man. I worked as a night shift manager at a 24/7 gas station fast food place in a sketchy part of town. I have hundreds of stories about the wild shenanigans of crackheads. Most aren't creepy but more what the F just happened. Like the guy who gave me a magic crystal to protect me from the apocalypse because I covered the change he needed for some hot dogs. Or the other guy who tried to buy his cigarettes with lawn clippings stating, "I know it ain't weed, but it works almost just as good," before just conking out standing at my register. I'm going to go with the creepiest being discovering dead bodies, the first time. 2 regulars OD'd while hiding in my dumpster area. I called 911 and did what little first aid I knew, but the EMT said they'd likely been dead for hours judging by how cold they were. But I swear to God I thought I could feel a pulse and I clearly remember hearing a gurgling noise. This happened when I worked in a hotel right out of high school. I did overnight in the laundry room, but I would help the front desk run invoices to the room sometimes. I was on the 3rd floor at like 2 AM I think, when I bent down to slide the invoice under the door and a pen flew past my face and hit the door. I didn't keep pens on me and I checked around the hallway but it was silent. You know hotel doors, they're heavy and you can hear people open and close them. I am 100% positive I heard nothing. When I got downstairs I asked my coworker if they saw anything but they said they weren't paying attention to the security screen. Really freaked me out. That was the only thing that happened in the 8 months I was there. 2 things happened when I was an overnight baker in a downtown area. Parking overnights is free in this downtown area but it can be crowded. First come first served. This one night I parked a block away and as I was walking to my job this young guy is riding his bike around me and my car. He followed me close to my job. I was quickly able to get in the building. That morning when my boss came in for a rem, he told me about his weird experience of this kid on a bike riding around him and his car. That guy did this for a few days until the weekend, getting closer each time. The last time he tried to hit my boss with his bike but my boss managed to hop between 2 vehicles and walk away safely. We never saw that guy again. In summer I would sit outside on a well-lit and busy side street and on this side at the opposite end was a federal building with nothing between us but solid building. So this one night I'm relaxing and I look towards the federal building and see a person completely in shadow walking my way. Even walking under the street light I couldn't see the features of this person. I quickly went in and waited, from a somewhat hidden position, to see who passed. No one passed at all in the next 10 minutes. I've never felt such malevolence from a person who was just walking. It still bothers me 15 years later. I work nights driving a taxi cab and occasionally I'd post up someplace and take a nap waiting for a job. Was waiting at a hospital since you get good jobs sometimes. The hospital would give patients vouchers to go to another hospital or a shelter. I woke up and someone was sitting in the back. Seems I'd forgotten to lock the doors. They admitted they'd been sitting for a few seconds but didn't know what to do since I was napping. We had a laugh and I made $75 off that ride. Better believe I started locking my doors after that though. I used to work at Taco Bell. I was closing that night with other co-workers and finally it was time to close. We turn off the outside lights and get a call on the restaurant phone as soon as we turn off the lights. My manager answered and we heard a man speak. I vividly remember him saying, "I know there are only girls in there. I've been watching for a while. Don't come out, I'll be waiting for you." We were all very afraid but hoping it was a prank call since sometimes kids would prank call. I looked out in our lobby and there was a tall man, wearing a blue collared shirt tucked in standing at the door facing the other way. We were terrified. We called the cops and we saw the cops speak to him. They had asked him to leave. We never saw that man again. Night shift on an ambulance. It's always weird. But the one that spooked me was Thanksgiving 2016. Got called out for a suicide. Guy found out he had cancer the day before and didn't want to be a burden to his family. Not uncommon. We run the call, do what we do and head back go the station. As I'm pulling into the spot the electronics in the cab go nuts. Radio starts changing stations. Dash lights dim off and on. Cab lights flicker. Me and my partner freaked out and as we bailed out at breakneck speed the truck shut off. Took a second, looked blankly at each other, then lit a cigarette. Went to check the key and it was still on. Shut it off and cranked it back up. Never had any other problems the rest of the shift. I've seen weird stuff and will never have claimed to seen it all, but I firmly believe we brought something with us from that scene. I work in a prison. When I was new, I was working overtime one night in a housing unit that has seen a lot of death. It was well after midnight, and all of the offenders were supposed to be in their cells. Since this was a medium security prison, the offenders still had access to leave their cell to use the communal bathroom at night. Well, I was going in for the 2 AM count. I watched an offender walk down the stairs from the second level and into the bathroom. I stood at the entrance to the bathroom and yelled in to ask them what cell they were in so I could add an extra body to that cell for my count but got no answer. I then walked into the bathroom and searched everywhere but found absolutely nobody. I told one of my co-workers about what happened, and the first thing they asked me was he tall and skinny with long dreads? And he had been. When I answered yes, I was told, "That's Mr. Bones. He killed himself a few years ago but he still hangs around." I still get goosebumps thinking about it. Used to deliver pizza to the worst areas of my college town until 2 AM nightly. We were the only pizza place in that city who went to those neighborhoods. The amount of violence I saw was shocking. Being put in impossibly sketchy situations in the worst apartment buildings and the most dangerous streets was frightening. The worst part was a massive mental hospital I'd have to deliver large orders to, large enough to take me 2 or 3 trips through security and up and down elevators. Some of the patients were allowed to roam free, some would stare at me through locked doors. This food was all for patients. This happened once a month. That place scared the hell out of me. I worked for a moving company restocking the trucks based on supplies they would need that morning. It's a shitty job. Never work for a moving company. Do not do it. Anyways, I'm stocking a truck pulled up to the dock when I realize my vision is getting fuzzy. I'm tired. I rub my eyes. My forearm feels wet, but I figure it's sweat and my vision clears. It happens again. I rub my eyes and my forearm feels wet again. I look at my arm finally to see hundreds of crushed baby spiders. My vision wasn't fuzzy. Baby spiders were crawling on my eyelashes. I was covered in baby spiders. I ran to the nearest water hose and got everything off. The next morning I had lots of tiny bites on my legs but otherwise nothing else. Not I but a friend of mine worked at a water treatment plant on graveyard shift. From what I understand, he was there to check levels, adjust stuff, make sure nothing blew up, you know? Just him. Access doors are unlocked, but he's inside an 8-foot tall, locked barbed wire fence. This place is next to a highway connecting two cities an hour away from each other, with not much in between. About 2:33 AM, he's killing time, playing his Nintendo DS, when he hears a voice from behind him go, "Get on the ground." My friend goes cold, complies. He's held at gunpoint. This guy ties him up with duct tape, all while saying he's sorry he had to do this, and steals the keys to his truck, his wallet, cards, etc. He hears him drive off, waits a while longer, and finally calls the police. The guy was arrested later that day. Turns out he had escaped from inmate custody in the next town over, and was desperate. He'd probably been walking forever. My friend honestly had PTSD of sorts from it for a while. Still works there, though. I was working as campus security and I had to close down the main law school building. The building was downtown in a major city and was old enough that the tunnels underneath it were used in the Underground Railroad. Think dirt floors and wooden cross beams, like you would imagine a mine. There was work going on in the tunnels, not sure what it was but I think they were reinforcing the supports. Anyways, as part of my routine I had to go around and check to make sure the build was vacant. I climb down the ladder into the tunnels, all the contractor lights are off. I say a few hello, anyone here, and shine my flashlight around silence for a moment. Then I hear what sounds like a radio tune from the 1920s coming from the tunnel. I immediately climb the ladder and padlock the trapdoor, arm the motion sensors and leave. Screw that. One and only time I worked graveyards at a local subway within a gas station. I was 7 months pregnant, and we got robbed. Buddy had a knife, and it all happened pretty fast. Working in her elderly home, check on one resident, let's call her Ethel. Ethel says to myself while I help her with nighttime routine, "I'm going to die tonight." Myself, "Oh Ethel, you're fine. Is there anything I can help you with, etc, etc." 2 AM. Ethel dead sat upright as if getting up. How did she know? For whatever reason people know. I've had patients crying and screaming they're gonna die because of their broken leg and you know they aren't. There's other times when you're talking with a guy who's having a little chest pain and they stop mid-sentence and in the most sincere fashion say "I'm going to die," then keel over from the ultimate heart attack. You know when they're not going to die because of how they say, and you know when things are about to get real because of how they say it. I encountered a naked couple standing in the middle of the street. I was going to deliver a pizza to a house nearby. They were just standing there. Subbed as a newspaper carrier last summer. Route was largely uneventful until I heard a distinct buzzing outside one of 4 entrances to an apartment building. Look up and see a swarm of wasps apparently inhabiting the lamp. Fairly certain I swallowed and got stung by one as I started feeling a crushing pain in my throat after a bit. At least that's one way to be certain you're not allergic. Middle of a snowy night at a gas station. A old guy comes in, looks at me, walks down a few aisles, then decides to go to the bathroom. I thought he was going in there to do drugs or something, but I didn't care. I used most of those hours to do homework. About 30 minutes pass and I remember he still is in there. I get concerned and go check on him. We have a key to open the bathrooms from the outside if we need to, and I'll let him know I'm coming in. The guy was slumped over dead. He was suffering from hypothermia and tried to use our bathroom to warm up. The creepy part actually happened the next night. After the body was gone and paperwork sorted on what happened. The night another old guy came in and he stuck out to me because he was wearing the same color shirt and pants as the guy who died. And also looked somewhat like him. I know it wasn't a ghost because this guy went and grabbed some snacks and needed to pay for a pump. So I got him all rung up and he asks if he can leave his stuff on the counter real quick to use the bathroom. I agree, and again this guy's gone for 30ish minutes, so I go check on him. When I opened the door nobody was there. There were no snacks on the counter, nor was there any car by the pumps, just mine and the lot. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. Have a nice evening.